Shedeur. What's tough here is I think there's so much nuance that I'm going to try to do super quickly, but we'll see how quickly I can do it. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a very good player. Is he going to be like Mahomes, Josh Allen type? Probably not. I don't think he's got that type of skill level, but I do think he's going to be like a middling quarterback, So if you say he's got the career of Jared Goff, I think anybody would take that, right? Jared Goff is a very good football player. He's been to a Super Bowl, and I think Shedeur's kind of in that similar mode. Jared Goff is bigger and might have a little bit stronger of an arm, but I think probably comparable players, don't run very fast, like all the things, right? Going to make some interesting decisions, hold the ball a little too long sometimes. So, yeah, I think just from a player perspective, I think if you look at this draft, Shedeur is probably the 20th to 30th best player in the draft, I think, by most accounts, by most people out there. He is the second best quarterback in this draft. So with all that said, his talent is probably late first, early second, right? In terms of where he should have been drafted. Okay. Now you get to all the other stuff, right? And the idea of his interviews not going well, his father kind of being this helicopter dad, or the idea that maybe Dion with his public persona and his fame could quietly and publicly force his way to be the coach of a team that Shedeur goes to. I think that's a real question, right? That's a real thought process of if I was a coach and in a situation like Seattle, where I'm a little bit newer of a coach, right? New GM there last couple of years. Do I want to bring in this guy that's going to be a backup to a guy that we just signed? And then now we've got the backup looking over his shoulder. I'm looking over my shoulder. That's real. That doesn't mean he should go in the 5th round, though. That's where this gets tricky, I think. There's no way. He's not a 5th round talent. Then you think about the idea of this young, confident, probably a little cocky, a little bashful, rich, young black kid, young black man, I guess what's he, 21, 22, sitting across from people, most of them are white, and him, quote unquote, not coming off well in these interviews, right? Okay. Is he coming off not well because they already have a perception of him, of what he is, and then he says one thing or answers a question in a certain way, and then that solidifies who or what they think of him? Did he tank some of the interviews on purpose, right? I think about it in terms of okay, let's say he's sitting across from Brian Daboll, right? Who is, I think, 21-32 in his 3 seasons. 21-32-1, I think, in his 3 seasons of the Giants. Someone that probably fancies himself as a football guy, a smart football guy, right? And you're sitting across from this kid who, again, is super cocky, just has rich kid syndrome, right? How would that interaction go? I'm assuming poorly, just on the surface. And I'm not trying to call Brian Daboll a racist or anything like that. I'm just saying I assume that interaction goes poorly. But then you have to peel back why that probably goes poorly. Is it poor because there's this idea that the person in power, Brian Daboll, should be given this respect or given this onus of oh, you're the coach of the Giants, so I'm gonna play Shedeur is gonna play this part for you in this interview? Does it go poorly because Shedeur essentially acts like he knows it all already at 21, 22 years old? That would turn off anybody in a job interview. Think about yourself going into a job interview, whatever. It could be a big-time job, or it could be working in the post office. If you go in and act like you know more than they do, they're going to be who the fuck is this kid, right? Okay. But then I'm going to go back to this idea that you have to kind of play a part. I wonder, and I feel like Johnny is pretty honest, right? I would love to get Johnny Manziel's idea or thought process. Like, did he feel like he had to fit a mold or play a part? Johnny Manziel's a rich kid, grew up a rich kid, still a rich kid. Johnny also has struggled, right? And he's been open about his struggles with substance abuse, with mental health, those type of things. So I wonder during his process, Johnny, as NFL teams knew, was going out, was using drugs before games, after games. What were those interactions for him when he was going through the draft process? What were his interviews like? Did he go in and just kind of acted like he always acted? Did he act like a rich kid? Or did he kind of like give some semblance of like an employer to employee relationship in this job interview and try to act like, try to play the part? I'm curious. Because it seems like because Shedeur did not play the part, teams felt like now you can get into certain things around race and money and all these other things, right? But for whatever reason, people felt like because he did not play the part, because he did not acquiesce to this box that you have to be, we're all put into it, right? It doesn't matter what walk of life you're in or what race you are or whatever, right? There's a box that we have. There's a social idea of like what a job interview should be. And because Shedeur did not give the presence or the vantage point that he really cared about the process, now it feels like teams either were truly just like, okay, maybe he's not a fit for us, or the vindictive side is like, we need to humble this kid and make him realize like what the NFL is about, and the shield is bigger than all of this, and what this opportunity is, and all that shit, right? And so I think it's just an interesting perspective, right? The NFL has no morality. Jalen Carter, not trying to like go tit for tat, right? But Jalen Carter had a DUI before the draft. And unfortunately, a person in that DUI and in that car crash passed. He was drafted 8th. So you have all these instances across the NFL, right, where it's typically never really about like your past or really who you are as a person. It's about, can you play football? I think we would all say that Shedeur Sanders can play football, right? And so if you're telling me that a kid that doesn't drink, doesn't go out, no baby mamas, no off the field drama, but he has a rich, famous Hall of Fame father, and he's rich, and he's a little cocky, and you're going to tell me he's drafted in the 5th round?